I think it's possible to say that when we look around, when we look at society, when we look at the world, we clearly see that something's wrong, that something's not working. And whether a person looks at himself and admits that there's something wrong about themselves, which is something hard to admit, or if we look at the world or at society in general, it's very easy to see that something's not working. All of the systems that we've built, everything that's around us, it seems disoriented, in chaos, that something's wrong. Maybe the other way around. Usually, a person sees that there's something wrong with the world, that the world's corrupt, and not he himself. This is something natural. And a person really asks himself, okay, so what do we do? I think that everyone asks this question. We're leaders, common people, what do we do? The wisdom of Kabbalah doesn't think so, and actually modern science, from what I know, hear, and read, doesn't think so either. It starts thinking differently because the world is what we see. And altogether, does it have some kind of shape, or do we shape it? Do we give it its shape, its form? And we see from modern physics that a particle can be in two places at the same time at infinite speeds, instantly, crossing from one end of the universe to its other. It's not like we used to think in the past. We're starting to influence a person, and you as a psychologist probably know a lot about this, that we can influence a person and we can see how his picture of reality, the way that person perceives reality, changes. It's harder and harder for us to precisely say whether we see the world or do we see our own projection, what we think about the world. And this is something that we see from reality, from our self-examination. Meaning, maybe if we'll take some tiny screwdriver and squeeze it into a person and we'll start turning different screws, potentiometers, different things. It's like putting a computer program in a computer, and then we arrange the different parameters for the computer to understand the program and start working according to it. So if we calibrate a person with a small screwdriver, afterwards we'll see an opposite world, meaning the prism will change and he'll see the world as something completely different. Right? It's not that the world changed, but maybe man changed. And maybe we have to change man. Maybe modern science shouldn't be about us physically changing the world, and we remain as we are, but we have to think about how do we change man? How do we change a person's perception, his internality, and then we'll see a different world. The wisdom of Kabbalah says that the world is shapeless, that it's all depicted within us, that we are the ones that give the world its form, and the world itself, it's something abstract. Suppose like some kind of a field, electric, magnetic, certain kind of force. And that force, in accordance with our qualities, the way we change the different potentiometers inside us, the way we calibrate them inside us correspondingly, we see the world, this world, the other world, maybe many worlds, doesn't matter. But that every time that we change a person's core essence, we'll feel a different world. So if I understand, even in math, sorry, just to finish this idea, even in math, that we've created a special language for ourselves that as if is independent of man, that's objective. Where did we take these things from? All in all, we took it from different discernments that are connected inside us in a certain way, in our mind, and accordingly we speak about the world, mathematically, through formulas. But if we change these ties in our brain, we'll also have a different kind of math. Even the method by which we write these things down and research and calculate things, this too can change. Okay, so what I understand is that maybe our human perception is wrong in essence, because it's constantly trying to change and correct things that exist in our world. And really we see that it doesn't work, and even if it does work for a certain period of time, it doesn't last. Usually it breaks down and becomes worse than before. And we see this in different fields in life. Even if we manage to organize the economical system for a certain period of time, after some time it becomes worse than before, and we're facing an even bigger crisis. So, from what I understand, you're saying that the method of correction has to include inside itself the method of correction of man too. Too? Yeah, even though that, from my perspective, it's only about man, we have to understand that I'm the observer. I'm the one that's feeling, I'm the one perceiving the world is depicted inside of me, so I have to know, how is it depicted inside of me, and do I change the external world by changing internally? There's this caricature on the net where you see this picture, and there's this leader, and there are the masses before him, and he's asking who wants change, and everyone raises their hand. In the other half of the picture, he's asking who wants to change. No one raises their hand. This is why we're in the same method of perception of the world for thousands of years, because no one wants to change. But there is something about our human nature that as if refuses to change. Why? Because a person doesn't want to change. It's inconvenient. By this, a person loses his entire previous outlook, perception, foundation. He has to change himself, his habits, relations. Our egoistic nature is telling us all the time that we're right and that we have to care for ourselves the way we are. So what? I'll go against my nature. For this, I have to be in a very deep crisis myself, about myself, in some kind of despair and disappointment. Despair and disappointment isn't enough. Yeah, we see that the people that are willing to change are really people that hit rock bottom, that they have nothing to lose. Maybe something like that, where he's willing to give up on everything, so to speak. And so there are very few who agree to change, to correct themselves. And this is why we correct the world, meaning the method of correction, one way or another, is standing in between these two, where everyone wants to correct the world. Everyone is disappointed with correcting the world because they see that it doesn't work, but still they don't want to turn to the other side, to correct themselves in order to correct the world, so that the world will become better, more corrected, more real. And this has to do with psychology, the science about the perception of reality, that has to reveal itself and tell us that really everything depends only on the correction of man, because accordingly we shape the world inside us, and the way to make the world better is by correcting man, by making man better. If we'll ever agree with that, then we have another thing left to do, which is how to do it, how to improve man. You gave this example with the screwdriver about calibrating the system. What exactly do you correct in a person? What I correct in a person is the desire, which is his core essence. The core essence of a person is his desire, the desire for pleasure. And so, we have to calibrate this desire in terms of what to enjoy, in what way to enjoy. This is the only thing that we can do, and this is all we need. So the method of correction works directly on man's desire? Yes. This is interesting because many times on our way to trying to be better people, we're trying to correct behaviors, a certain trait, we're trying to maybe be more pleasant, more patient. But you're talking about the correction of the desire, which is something very fundamental. That's the only core thing that we actually have. We also have to examine that. We think that we have a brain, but the brain, it serves the desire. The brain, the thought, has nothing independent, but it is completely dependent on the desire. And what I want, this is what I think about, and to the extent to which I want one thing more than the other, I'm thinking about that thing more than about other things. That's how our brain calculates everything. So the correction of man is the correction of his desire, meaning what exactly does he want to enjoy, what does he want to derive pleasure from, what does he want to enjoy, and who does he want to delight. Okay, now, were I to have this magical screwdriver, and I could insert it into myself and turn some kind of screw, then by this you actually mean that you want to insert something into my will to enjoy, my desire for pleasure, and to define the settings. Yeah, okay, so suppose this is what we do, and we define the settings, and now I become a corrected person. Who do I want to delight now? What do I want to enjoy? Just like now, where your nature is calibrated to enjoy reception, I want to calibrate you in a way that you will enjoy bestowing, giving, doing good to others.